Rachel Reeves finds herself at the most catastrophic turning point of her political career as her economic policies unravel, triggering an unprecedented financial crisis that has sent shockwaves through the United Kingdom. What initially started as a humiliating parliamentary clash soon spiraled into a full-scale scandal when Reeves, unable to contain her anger, allegedly struck Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride after he brutally exposed the fundamental flaws in her economic strategies. The shocking physical altercation, which reportedly unfolded within the corridors of Westminster, has now placed Reeves in deep legal trouble, with official reports confirming that she will soon face court proceedings. Political analysts have described this as one of the most devastating collapses in modern British politics, with many questioning whether Reeves can recover from the explosive controversy or if her career has suffered irreversible damage. Did you know that over 95% of our viewers aren't subscribed to the channel? We totally get it, life gets busy, and sometimes it's easy to forget. But here's the thing, subscribing is completely free, and it really helps us keep creating the content you enjoy. So, why not hit that subscribe button and join our community? It only takes a second, but it makes a world of difference to us. Thank you for your support. A shattering parliamentary defeat. During what is now being described as a defining moment in parliamentary history, Stride delivered a blistering critique of Reeves' credibility, launching a relentless assault filled with damning facts and searing criticisms that exposed her economic incompetence. His scathing deconstruction of Labour's fiscal policies left Reeves visibly shaken, unable to formulate a response, and reportedly trembling before a packed chamber. Eyewitness accounts reveal that, shortly after storming out of the Commons in frustration, an enraged Reeves aggressively confronted Stride in the hallways of Parliament. Multiple sources confirm that what followed was nothing short of extraordinary. Reeves allegedly lashed out, physically assaulting Stride in a fit of sheer rage. This unprecedented incident has thrown Westminster into turmoil, with legal experts now speculating about the potential criminal consequences Reeves may face. The economic catastrophe unfolding under Reeves' leadership. Compounding her legal troubles is the fact that Reeves is currently at the epicenter of an economic disaster that is pushing the nation to the brink of financial ruin. As the cost of living crisis continues to spiral out of control, millions of households across the UK are sinking deeper into financial despair. Food prices are soaring, energy bills are becoming unmanageable, and wages remain stagnant, issues that Reeves has utterly failed to address. Stride wasted no time in exposing the full extent of her failures during the heated Commons debate. In a methodical and relentless fashion, he systematically tore apart Reeves' policies, laying bare how her ill-conceived economic agenda has resulted in devastating inflation, crippling tax increases, and an energy crisis that has left millions of Britons struggling to heat their homes. Public outrage reaches boiling point. The impact of Stride's onslaught was so overwhelming that Reeves was reportedly left speechless, unable to counter the avalanche of facts being presented against her. Just moments after this crushing humiliation, she confronted Stride in a heated exchange that led to the now infamous physical altercation, a move that could see her face a criminal conviction and, potentially, jail time. Public outrage against Reeves has reached unprecedented levels, with protests erupting across the country as citizens demand answers over her failure to manage Britain's economy. Her recent public appearances have been nothing short of disastrous, with furious pensioners and struggling workers berating her for pushing the nation into economic despair. In one particularly humiliating moment, Reeves was forced to retract claims that her policies were benefiting the working class after Stride instantly debunked her statements with irrefutable evidence. The backlash has been swift and brutal. Critics from across the political spectrum have condemned Reeves' handling of the crisis, with some calling for her immediate resignation. The scandal has thrown Labour into disarray, with insiders reportedly fearing that Reeves' actions could cause irreparable damage to the party's reputation. The cost of economic mismanagement. Under Reeves' stewardship, the UK's financial downturn has completely obliterated her promises of economic stability. Instead of delivering prosperity, her policies have driven the nation into a full-scale recession, with households now struggling to make ends meet. The rapid rise in inflation has eroded savings, while businesses face insurmountable financial pressures due to skyrocketing taxes and increased operating costs. Stride's ruthless exposure of Reeves' failures was so thorough that many political analysts are now openly questioning whether she has any viable path forward as Chancellor. With the prospect of a court trial looming, sources from within Labour suggest growing panic, as MPs fear that Reeves' scandal will have long-lasting repercussions for the party. The economic devastation under her leadership has been staggering. Recent statistics reveal a shocking 6.4% increase in energy bills, raising the average household's annual costs to a staggering £1,849, a financial burden that is pushing families to breaking point. Reeves was left defenseless as Stride meticulously detailed how her failure to implement effective policies had directly worsened the crisis, leaving millions of Britons struggling to survive. Legal experts weigh in. Could Reeves face jail time? Rather than focusing on tackling Britain's economic woes, Reeves is now entangled in a high-profile criminal case, with legal experts predicting a difficult road ahead for the embattled Chancellor. If found guilty, she could face serious repercussions, potentially including a custodial sentence, a scenario that would mark an unprecedented downfall for a senior government figure. To make matters worse, local council tax hikes are set to inflict further misery on the public. An overwhelming 9 out of 10 local authorities are now preparing to impose a minimum 4.99% tax increase from April, an action that enraged taxpayers have branded as daylight robbery. Stride did not hold back in condemning Reeves for enabling these punishing tax hikes, drawing comparisons to Margaret Thatcher's infamous poll tax, a reference that sent shockwaves through Labour ranks. The crisis deepens, more price hikes looming. The economic devastation does not stop there. Retailers are warning of yet another punishing wave of price increases, with the April hike in employer national insurance contributions expected to worsen conditions for businesses and workers alike. Stride exposed Reeves' failure to grasp the long-term implications of her policies, leaving her looking entirely out of her depth. Meanwhile, the cost of essential goods continues to soar, compounding the suffering of ordinary citizens. Inflation has reached record-breaking levels, forcing more and more families to rely on food banks just to get by, a damning indictment of Reeves' disastrous tenure as Chancellor. With economic stability in freefall and a legal crisis now unfolding, questions over her future in government have never been more serious. The moment that defined the collapse. One of the most shocking moments in Stride's takedown of Reeves came when he exposed her decision to scrap universal winter fuel payments for pensioners, a move that has sparked national outrage. Advocacy groups and charities have condemned the decision, with Age UK branding it a reckless attack on society's most vulnerable. The backlash has been relentless, with public anger mounting over Reeves' apparent disregard for struggling households. Is this the end of Rachel Reeves' political career? With legal proceedings looming, economic chaos worsening, and Labour struggling to contain the fallout, Reeves' political career is now hanging by a thread. The once promising Chancellor, who entered office with a vision of stability and growth, now finds herself facing the very real possibility of criminal prosecution, political exile, and complete career ruin. As Britain teeters on the brink of economic collapse, one question remains: can Reeves survive this catastrophe, or has she sealed her own fate as one of the most disgraced politicians in modern British history? The political and economic crisis engulfing Rachel Reeves has reached new and devastating heights, as leading disability charity Scope has fiercely condemned the Chancellor for ignoring the additional financial burdens faced by disabled individuals. The charity's scathing rebuke underscores the growing outrage over Labour's economic policies, which critics argue have disproportionately harmed the most vulnerable members of society. Meanwhile, Shadow Chancellor Mel Stride has left no stone unturned in his relentless efforts to expose Labour's failures. His latest parliamentary assault on Reeves has been particularly unforgiving, as he demanded an immediate reversal of the government's brutal cuts that have worsened living conditions for millions. However, rather than offering a meaningful response, Reeves once again appeared incapable of defending her policies, except, it seems, for lashing out violently against the men who dared to expose her failures. Even Labour's Energy Secretary, Ed Miliband, has struggled to defend the government's mishandling of the crisis. His recent pledge to expand the £150 warm home discount, a scheme intended to provide relief to low-income households, has been met with widespread skepticism. Many see it as nothing more than an inadequate gesture, given the severity of the financial strain facing millions of Britons. As households brace for an increasingly unbearable future, Labour's lack of an effective strategy has only fueled greater resentment. Reform UK and Nigel Farage capitalise on Labour's economic chaos. Adding to Labour's woes, Reform UK has seized upon the government's economic mismanagement, with Nigel Farage's party warning that Reeves' unwavering commitment to the net zero agenda will only drive energy prices even higher. Critics argue that Labour's environmental policies, while well-intentioned, have been implemented with little regard for the short-term financial impact on struggling families and businesses. Labour was already facing mounting internal panic over its handling of the economy, but now, with its chancellor embroiled in an assault scandal, the crisis has escalated to an entirely new level. Senior party figures are reportedly alarmed at the potential long-term damage to Labour's reputation, as Reeves' legal troubles overshadow every aspect of the party's economic strategy. Local elections in May, a looming disaster for Labour. With local elections looming in May, Labour is staring down the barrel of potentially catastrophic losses. Voters in Scotland and Wales, traditionally strong Labour strongholds, are rapidly turning away from the party, disillusioned by Reeves' inability to provide meaningful economic relief. As inflation continues to climb and mortgage costs soar, there is growing concern that public frustration could reach breaking point, triggering a major political upheaval. For Labour, the timing of this crisis could not be worse. With Reeves' alleged assault scandal now dominating national headlines, the party's electoral prospects are looking increasingly grim. Discontent is growing within Labour ranks, with party insiders warning that Reeves' position as Chancellor may soon become untenable. Mel Stride's takedown of Rachel Reeves, a defining moment in British politics. Stride's methodical dismantling of Reeves in Parliament has already been described as one of the most defining moments in modern British politics. His relentless exposure of her economic incompetence, failure to curb inflation, and mishandling of energy policies has inflicted damage that Labour is struggling to contain. The consequences of Stride's attack are still being felt across Westminster. It has sent a clear and unforgiving message: if Reeves cannot regain control of this spiraling crisis, her tenure as Chancellor will come to a humiliating and permanent end. History may well remember Rachel Reeves as one of the most disastrous political failures in modern British history, if she even lasts that long. But now, with legal proceedings looming, her biggest challenge may not come from Parliament, but from the courtroom.